Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great honor to bring one of my favorite British poets, a man of talent, a man of depth, a man of philosophical resource, I'll say. Okay. Dominic Windram, my friends, this is a man who does a lot of thinking. And what's even better, he puts that thinking to good use. He's an educator as well as being a superior poet. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominic Windram. Dominic, welcome.
Nice to meet you again, Rick.
Always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. So tell me, what's new in the world of Dominic? Have
Yeah,
you been performing?
I've just, yeah, I've just started back teaching, but over the summer I've been preoccupied with this ongoing genocide in Gaza. So I've written letters to my MPs. I've written poetry about it, given to charitable organisations. I'm trying to do my best. There's not many. I'm quite away from London, so there's not many, where you can really protest here. It's not. Well, look, did you hear what happened in London? What has happened? There's a group called Palestinian Action or Palestine Action. Anyway, it's been prescribed as a terrorist organization, and you can get 14 years in prison for sort of supporting it. And what they did was well, I've got it in. Have you had a Private Eye?
No.
Private Eye. Oh, it's a British satirical magazine. Hislop is the editor of it, and there was a piece in the Private Eye, and it says what Palestine Action did. Palestine Action explained unacceptable Palestinian action, spraying military planes with paint. That's basically what it did. Acceptable Palestinian action, shooting Palestinians queuing for food. And people who had that placard were arrested. I mean, this is a freedom of speech issue, isn't it? I
Well, it
think you've
should
got
be.
much better freedom of speech in America, I think, than we have. It's
When I hear that the I can't use the word leaders, when the politicians in charge of your country are agreeing with the Trump truth,
oh,
that it just is just so sad. It's so sad. I got to ask you, as a gentleman of philosophical and religious thinking, I can't help but imagine that history is going to judge the world's leadership, the civilized world, so badly for this
yes,
blind eye that they are turning to what's going on there in
yes.
Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it. That the crimes there, starvation, murder, the destruction of an entire infrastructure, schools,
Yes,
parks, buildings,
hospitals.
utilities, everything just completely destroyed. And then as if they couldn't make the crime bad enough by just massacring everyone, then there's this talk of a Trump resort. The promotional video with a golden statue of Trump. I,
Ugh, yeah.
I write satire, okay? I could never even begin to imagine something so hideous, such an affront to humanity. I ask you, sir, why have not more religious leaders stepped up to what is
Well,
the crime of our time?
I think the Pope, the one who just died, was very good on it on Palestinians. But I don't attend church now, but a lot of the Catholics and of the Catholic faith, probably better speaking out. But the Christian churches, I mean, lots of Christians in Palestine. Do they not realise that it's not just um, it's not just Muslims. It's Christian community. So I don't know why it feels as though they're scared to come out and in case they're accused of anti-Semitism, maybe.
I mean, in my dreams, I see the Dalai Lama and the Pope
Yeah,
and the senior mullah walking down those streets and demanding an end to the food blockade, to the construction blockade. And this, I can't believe I know people who still defend it. And I just, it boggles my mind. How can their hatred, their failure to comprehend the lesson of history? It's almost like the 30s and the 40s, they learned the wrong lesson.
Yes. Just with regard to Jewish people in England, there's on these marches, there's quite a lot of Orthodox Jews supporting Palestine. I just wanted to, because it's Zionism. Zionism is something different. It's not Judaism, is it?
No,
It's a
right.
political entity. Yeah.
You can understand that. I can understand that. But there are people, for reasons of their own politics, not only fail to understand, but actively assume that one is the same as the other.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah, it's a
using
dangerous game to play that one. Yeah, it's a dangerous game to play that one, I think. But
I
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. To be honest, I mean, I really don't. It's
I
just
I grew up
unfathomable. Fathomable.
I grew up when apartheid in America was still legal. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I grew up in a time when African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans were legally mistreated, had no real recourse to justice, had they could not even demand fair play. And I watched America make a move, or at least some, let's say some portion of America improve dramatically, because clearly not all, clearly. But it amazes me, and it continues to amaze me, how some people can apply the same racist logic to Palestinians, to Arabs, to the Arab civilization where we got numbers. You would
yeah,
think, you would think that people concerned about commerce would say, wait a minute, we're using Arabic numbers. Could this have been a civilization? I want to ask you one more question, or tell you one more little story before we go in and start talking poetry. But I, I had a I had a student who was an Iraqi, okay, right after the Iraq War, and I was teaching him
right.
computer skills, okay, and he said he had dreamt as a child of coming to America, so he started taking every English class he could take, okay, as a child, and now here he was in his 20s. America came to him, and he signed up to be a translator. So he was going out with American soldiers doing what soldiers did in Iraq, which was break down doors and fire indiscriminately at anybody who moved, okay, and who didn't move. He met his wife by virtue of the fact that he was on a U.S. raid that busted in the door of a family, seemingly at random, no real reason. Busted in
Yeah.
the door, shot everybody in the room. The young girl wasn't killed, so he picked her up and carried this 15-year-old girl to the local hospital that was still working, got her taken
Gosh.
care of, and ultimately married her later. Okay.
Wow.
So he said to me, he described himself as a person who not only translated Arabic and Farsi to English, he said he also translated Texas to Boston. He translated Louisiana to Oklahoma. And he said one officer that he spent a lot of time with, a black officer, guy always carried a Bible, okay, which he thought was one level of ironic right there. But he said this guy was always ranting and raving about Christianity and how he was, a biblical Christian and this and that. And of course, he was murdering with a lot of them, right? And he said one day he'd had enough when this black officer said to him, "You people are just really lucky that we came here and brought civilization to this godforsaken country." And he said, "You know that book that you carry, that that book that you got there in your hand." "Oh yeah, I know it backwards and forwards." He said, "Do you ever remember reading about a place called Nineveh that was a great civilization when when Jewish people and Arab people were just wandering around, in tents. You remember that? Yeah, 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 some kind of civilization. Just this right here. This this is Nineveh.
It is incredible, isn't it? The
Ignorance
ignorance
is
of
an ugly
something.
thing.
Yeah.
Ugly thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome the amazing poet and philosopher and educator, Mr. Dominic Windram. Dominic, welcome.
Hi there, Rick. Nice to see you again.
So I know you have a full busy plate of civic activity as well as you're educating. You've just gone back to start teaching again. Tell me a little bit about the poetry scene where you are in North Britain.
Well, I used to perform regularly about 10, 15 years ago in a place called Stockton and also Newcastle. I performed there. But I found it a bit parochial, really. And obviously, ever since now, I just really perform on radio or on Nigerian TV this year as well.
How
But
wonderful.
yeah, so it's through Facebook, really, I get the contacts to be able to perform. So it's mainly, like audio performances. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well,
No,
let me ask
like real live performances.
you've been a poet for many years, probably a decade or two, and I'm wondering, clearly, the poets whose work you appreciate has probably changed over the years. Uh, are you reading any poets right now?
Well, actually, I'm a big fan of Lawrence Ferlinghetti. I was actually going to read one of his poems today
Wonderful.
because it fits in with the topic of the genocide that's going on, or the sort of caving into the system and not speaking the truth, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like a lot of American poets and writers. Yeah. So probably didn't know some of them when I was growing up because we got steeped in tradition of English poetry. But I
Of
do like a
course.
lot of American. But those American poets who used to perform with in India, in the Indian online thing, they were very good.
All right. Let me ask you this. Now, since you're only partially a performance poet, uh, I was going to ask you about your writing. Now, do you look for opportunities in anthologies or in magazines, or is that not part of you're doing mostly oral presentations?
Yeah, yeah, I've been published in October Hill. I think it's where is it? It's New York way. Where's Portland? Somewhere like that. Yeah, but I've been published in that magazine for a good few years now. Yeah,
Okay.
and also the Northern Cross in it serves the diocese of the Catholic diocese of Newcastle Hexham. I published in there quite regularly, so
Nice.
I'm quite happy. I do a lot of self-publishing. I really like self-publishing. Tumblr, I'm on Tumblr at the moment. That's really good.
Some of the most famous authors we know were self-publishers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Um, are there some contemporary writers whose work you appreciate?
There's a guy called, have you heard of John Agard? He's a West Indian poet.
I think I've
Well,
heard the name, yeah.
yeah, I like his poetry because we have to do some of that on the syllabus for the English syllabus. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's quite clever. Yeah, the way he brings his own culture into being. Yeah, it's great. But I
It,
can't.
it,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. There's a guy I just watched before he came on. He's quite funny. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
called the punk poet John Cooper Clarke. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, I haven't.
And he was making fun of Bono. You know Bono off U2. I mean that guy doesn't represent the Irish. The Irish are a lot more humble than Bono, Mr. Bono. Yeah.
Yeah, I do some reading with from time to time with Finn Hall from Scotland and
Yes.
also Clive uh, Clive, good gosh, I can't think of his name, who does work in Northern England as well. I think
Oh
he calls
yes.
the show Beehive.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think I might have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice show. He has a good sense of humor, and I've always been a fan of humorous poetry. It's one of my own vineyards that I enjoy anyway. Whether my audience enjoys them or not, all the time I can't tell. Uh,
Yeah.
Laurie, let me ask you this: you mentioned that you perform on radio, and also you were saying Nigerian television. Um,
Just
uh,
there was a one-off in February. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, when you work overseas, when you work either there or in America, do you find uh, it communicates well, or do you see that there's I mean, obviously idiomatic English varies from place to place, but you seem to feel it gets across pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I spend a lot of time trying to read well. With
Mm.
addiction and things. Yeah. So the Nigerian one was a good experience because a lot of people were watching it. It's one of the most popular TV shows in Nigeria. So I got
No
really good
kidding.
feedback about that. Yeah.
No, that's great.
It was just serendipity because I was on Facebook and this guy said, "Would you like to perform Nigerian
Well,
TV?"
wonderful.
Just
Yeah, I do some work with Indian writers as well, uh,
yeah,
and it's always very interesting because besides the time difference, because we of course we're a world away, 9 hours of difference, but our cultural experience is so different, our philosophical and religious backgrounds are so different. But I'm always, I think, humbled by the fact that human beings, no matter where they are, tend to have the same kinds of concerns. They're concerned about their
yeah,
friends and family. They want a roof. They want to be able to be educated. And, all of these things there's just such human values.
yeah, yeah. It's true. Yeah, when you meet a lot of different culture people from different cultures, you sort of get to know that. I think. Yeah.
It's funny, you'd mentioned that performing live in your local vicinity very parochial. And I know that when the majority of my public readings were in those kind of small groups, a group of 8 poets or a group of 5 poets or a group of 3 poets or a group of maybe in a dozen, and when you go to a group like that and again and again and again, you hear a lot of repetitive work, you hear a lot of the same sort of
Yes,
thing.
that's what was happening. Yeah.
What I find so positive and such enjoyable quality to the international Zoom stuff is you get to hear people from, such different kinds of world.
Yes, yes. Well, you did that poetry from the East series, didn't you? With people, a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of people from Eastern
Well,
Europe.
in fact,
I thought some excellent poets from Eastern Europe. Yeah, Poland and Bulgaria. So, yeah,
sure, sure. Yeah, I continue to do that in addition to my other little adventures. In fact, this is going to be an episode.
yeah.
Now I know you do a lot of work that addresses social concerns, war and peace, that sort of thing. What's your most recent piece, for example?
My most recent piece is called "The Ongoing Genocide in Palestine." Simple as that.
Sure. Well, there's no time like the present. Would you like to read the poem?
Oh yes, yes, thank you. Yes. So, ongoing genocide in Palestine. Bullets and shrapnel rip through buildings and flesh in the skeletal night. Drones hover like ravens. Weeping women and children hide in shelters. They huddle together. Limbs hang from gnarled black trees in killing fields. Fires devour tents across a war-torn land. Much of the devastation is live streamed on screens, yet some claim not to understand what is taking place. Or they avert their eyes from clear, bleak truth and are brainwashed by lies. Yet prophets can sense broken-hearted cries as cold commentaries try to whitewash graphic obscenities of genocide. who can imagine such vast human loss?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, my work recently has been I'm going to say satirical pieces aimed at our misadministration.
Yeah.
There's
What I noticed that when I was writing that poem, I did quite a lot on art history over the summer courses and things. It's always something I've really enjoyed, art history, and I was looking at a lot of Goya's what's it called? Disasters of War series. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah, and I think that's kind of uh, inspired that poem. I think.
yeah, um, it's such a devastating tragedy, and to me, it's almost as bad to think about the blind eye that's been turned to the devastation. You know,
Yeah.
you can say in the heat of anger, in the heat of vengeance, crimes were done, and that's passion, and it must be acknowledged in the human spirit that exists. But to ignore it, that's a cold, calculating crime.
Yes.
That's a crime where passion isn't involved. It's the easy path. It's
Yeah.
it serves it it's I think almost a comparable crime. It really is.
Yes.
Okay, let's turn to some of the other work that you do. Do you want to read a couple other poems, sir?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Do you want me to mention the Palestine Action thing we talked about again, or
Sure, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Um, there's over the summer holidays there was protests in London, quite a few, and this group called Palestine Action who spray military planes with paint. If you're a member of the party or you even say you support them, you could be face up to 14 years in jail. So it's on this Palestine Action Group, which is causing vandalism. It's not terrorism. Is now on a par with Al Qaeda and ISIS in the UK at the moment. So it's quite scary, really. I mean, um, I'm not a member of the group because I don't. But you know it's a real war against the freedom of speech at the moment that's going on in this country. It's terrible, and this is a Labour government that's in,
You know,
so called.
to draw a parallel for what it's worth. Back in the 1960s and early 70s, when Earth Day, remember Earth Day was first started back then,
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
and a group of us who were concerned about the pollution, who were concerned about the damage being done to the earth, the development. There was, when we had that first Earth Day, there was a parade. We had a parade for Earth Day, and we invited a local elementary school to come with us and join a little parade of joy and of happiness celebrating the earth. You know, it was a spring day. And they said, yeah, sure. Well, when this group of celebrants came marching down the street in front of the school, there were plenty of hippies there. Okay, long hair, flowers, and beads, and all that stuff. And when there were signs, love the earth and peace, not war, and stuff like that. Well, when the school administration saw this reality of our Earth Day parade, they decided that the children would not be allowed to participate.
Oh
But they'd
gosh.
already let them out of the school. And so they came running up to the fence. And here are these paraders out in the street, opposite, just outside the fence. And the kids were hanging on to the fence and, oh, we want to come, we want to come, we want to be in the
Oh,
parade. But the administration was having none of it. And just like anti-war protests, this Earth Day celebration, we got the jeers and the catcalls and the yelling, anti to it. And it just seemed to me such a sad thing that here, what we're asking is for people to respect the planet. Don't pollute the rivers, don't pollute the air, save green space, protect the animals, the plants that surround us. And that this could bring such anger.
Yes, yeah.
It was just very sad. So when I hear the, whether it be a peace protest or a human rights protest, and I hear the angry voices shouting against it, it reminds me of that little thing. And it reminds me of seeing those little kids, holding on to the fence saying, we're with you, we want to come. And some of the people in the parade were saying, yeah, come on, climb the fence, come on. But being a responsible teacher sort of person that I am, I couldn't quite go that far.
Yeah.
But uh, I certainly had my sympathy with that thought. I think it's important that you, as a writer, as a person of depth, write on these difficult topics and make your statement, make your comment. Me, I do cartoons as well, and I've had
Yes.
fellow poets say to me, Rick, you know, are, maybe you should tone down your cartoons. You should tone down your writing. And I said, the thing is, either we have freedom of speech or we don't. And and Mark Twain made a wonderful comment. Sam Clemens,
Oh, I love Mark Twain. Yeah.
yeah, he made a comment. He said, the man that cannot read and the man that does not read are no different. And I think that's very true. And I know you, as an educator, do your best to help people gain and polish those skills. What
Yes.
are you teaching this term?
I'm doing English and maths, so I'm covering this GCSE topics for maths like trigonometry, Pythagoras, etc. And then for English lit, we'll probably be looking at Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet. Yeah.
So, why don't you read us another poem, sir?
Yeah, we were talking about the protesters. So this, I wrote this last month, I think. For all the protesters, for the outsiders, keep building a small plot of land at all times. Fragile empires, it's called. The cruel, calculated systems you devise will eventually be brought down as you pontificate over your further plans to silence dissent with your vast tapestries of lies. As you raise time-honoured flags or fists, as you hide behind your frozen masks in your parliaments, palaces, or pentagons. You may have the cold steel at your disposal. Pompous elites may robotically march to your every order. You may issue obscene genocidal commands. You may control sordid remnants of the once pure word over crinkled airwaves. You may create hackneyed montages of image and sound, but one day soon your fragile empires will crumble to the ground. For we are growing in numbers outside of your brittle authority, outside of your empty distractions, outside of your cheap bread and circuses of decay, outside of your insubstantial shadow plays. And we vow that your fragile empires will crumble to the ground.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Let me share one of my recent pieces with you. He uh, he urged, they're reinstating Civil War leaders' statues. They're renaming forts after Confederates and rebels who defended slavery. And in one of his recent statements, he urged us to reconsider the good side of slavery.
Really? Gosh, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
quite a philosopher. So I wrote this. It's called "What About the Good Side of Slavery?" and hey, 50 other kinds of knavery. So here it goes. Well, what about the pox? Maybe it's just a disguise, don't you see? Maybe it's just me. And the plague, they say, was so bad. Now, all the deaths they had, Europe decimated, but they're all probably reincarnated. And real estate prices collapsed. And could that be bad by half and half? And crime disappeared. The nobles no longer in arrears. And everyone was happy to work extra years if they could just drag themselves past the church. Yeah, and if you didn't like your bosses, he might write off and kind of write you as a loss. And if he takes a liking to your family, some assembly might be required where midnight rendezvous might tarry. And yeah, for the little ones, it might be scary to be sold off like a bag of taters, but you wouldn't have to worry about them. That comes later. And employment was dropped and horse prices fell and the streets were much cleaner, you could tell. Once the corpses were burned, back to the bitching about slavery and other such knavery. Well, it was just a full employment plan. You never have to worry where your kids are. They were sold off weeks ago. And all those who complain about war and they ask what it's for, well, sure, taking land. Yeah, that's grand. And big explosions and all the soldiers on excursions learning geography bomb by bomb. Yeah, you got to do it while you're young. Meeting people at the end of your rifle. Some are bothered. I call that a trifle. Well, yeah, slavery. Some say your time is past. And I'll tell you this, with all that unemployment, can the end of slavery really last?
Oh, great. Yeah.
Let me share one more I think that you may find amusing. Oh, come on. For crying out loud. Okay, wait and see. How about okay, never mind. Oh, there we go. My computer's acting up just a little bit. I can cut out the pause. This is another recent one. It's called uh, extrajudicial. We have all this failure to have regular order and trials and rights and stuff. So I call this extrajudicial. That's the thing. Extrajudicial. That's the thing. Watch the scary way I bat my wings. Those nasty, scaly, rough-hewn things. You don't have to even kiss the ring. Watch me how I make 'em sing. Send 'em here and send 'em there. Nothing you'd ever see is ever on the square. I keep my thumb full throttle, darling, heavy on the scales. Well, we like bribery. Yes, we do. Just write a little check. Voila, you're through. They got their moral codes. We got ours. We got so many we keep 'em unused in shelves on great big jars. We don't like marches or protests neither. What we like is undercover searches and seizure. We'll grab your shoes, your pants, and take your socks. We'll chill you or kill you. Very least store you in a keyless box. We'll take your phone. We got your computers. Terminate your communication. Your organization's neutered. We'll stop your rallies. No more protests. Don't you worry. We know what's best. None of the niceties they observe in court. If we don't like them, they get the jerk. No complications like evidence and such. We tried that before. It's just too much. Complications like testimony and observing laws, none of that tedious stuff. Once we grab you, you're in our jaws. All them lawyers and all their words, we like something swifter like you never heard. And I'm the judge and I'm the king. I just really like to do my thing. I got unlimited armies. They're undercover just the way I like my lovers. And if I don't like what they're heard to say, that's enough for me. They're disappeared by midday. And then there's the masks upon them. You got good day, extrajudicial. Anyway, I like it. If you don't like it, you can take a hike.
Yeah, great.
How about some more from Mr. Dominic?
Well, I think given the two poems that you've just read, I think this poem is very prescient. You know, the one by Ferlinghetti, Pity the Nation. It was inspired by Cahill Gibran. Yeah, given Trump and his followers, might speak to them, hopefully. Pity the nation whose people are sheep and whose shepherds mislead them. Pity the nation whose leaders are liars, whose sages are silence, and whose bigots haunt the airwaves. Pity the nation that raises not its voice, but aims to rule the world by force and by torture, and knows no other language but its own. Pity the nation whose breath is money and sleeps the sleep of the too well fed. Pity the nation, oh, pity the people of my country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty.
Indeed, indeed. So, do you have anything on the Brexit issue?
Brexit. No, that's kind of gone. That was a few years ago, the where they
Right, when
decided
it
to
passed,
leave. Yeah,
you're still
it
living
doesn't
under it,
seem
though,
as, yeah, the only thing about that is, have you heard of Nigel Farage?
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's very popular at the moment because he's anti-immigration, and they reckon he could be the next prime minister, even though he's not in one of the main two parties. But yeah, it's quite,
Oh, no.
yeah. See, the thing about him, he's articulate. He can deliver good speech. Well, obviously, I don't agree with any of the content, but he can. He's a very good manipulator.
Evidently, that's all it takes these days.
Yeah, I think so. But Jeremy Corbyn's got a new party together. So he's left
Oh, yeah.
Labour. And he went independent and he won the election. His election. He's formed a new party. I think it's called Your Party at the moment. They haven't really come up with a name for it. So I'm going to be voting for him.
I bet. So, what else would you like to read, sir?
I've got this one. I suppose it's a kind of cousin to. Have you heard of? You probably take it you have. Bob Dylan's Ballad of a Thin Man, whereby the so-called culture of society don't get what's going on. The cultured people don't get what's going on in the world of today, the contemporary world. So it's called "So Certain Is He." No doubt he is smartly dressed in suit and tie. No doubt he often likes to read the Times. No doubt he is proud of his nation and is wary of foreign invasion. No doubt he can discern goodies from baddies. No doubt that the West is the best and the East needs to be reformed and perhaps redeemed. No doubt that he appreciates beauty. No doubt classics adorn his library. No doubt that he's well versed in poetry. No doubt he believes that he's free to speak his mind in a thriving democracy. No doubt that this man votes regularly. No doubt he obtained a decent degree with honours from a fine university, but he's clearly brainwashed by the BBC. I'm a fan of the drama of the BBC, but I don't like the news output. So I don't know where I stand with the. And we have to pay a license fee for it as well. So
Yeah,
even
amazing.
Stalin didn't think of that. Stalin didn't think of that.
Well, you don't get quite the number of commercials that we do, I guess.
Yeah, well, that is what I said. Those films I watched, Shakespeare were beautifully put together, and there was no obviously no breaks in it. So it was, yeah, I can see the good side as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
culture. It's like the Guardian newspaper. I love its art output, but it's politics. It pretends it's left liberal. Well, it's more liberal than left, but it's not really. It's not. There's very most of the press in this country is right wing to the right. I mean,
it's a shame, we have we have PBS, our public broadcasting system, or at least we had it until Trump cut it, and it's a shame. But I think I keep telling my poet friends that we're the ones who are going to keep civilization alive because we love history, we love literature, and we love
yes,
discourse. Not to say monologue, but discourse, dialogue. That
yes.
is important.
As
Um,
Shelley said, with the unacknowledged legislators of the world. Yeah,
that's a good
I
line.
always
I
like that one. Yeah.
so have you written on some topics other than just politics, you think?
Yeah, I've written on about the headland. I live on the coast, so I have some nice walks at a place at the headland. Yeah, so it's just called at the headland. At the headland, the rocks intone their ancient chant. The beach is awash with pebbles, seaweed, and shale. Oh, I know that I stand on significant ground as awe and wonder permeate each firm texture. The gull's cries uncover myriad strange secrets. I glimpse the tern's swift flight via reflective pools. It arcs and jinxes through the salted air of spring, in and out of sight. Microcosms of delight greet me in the gleaming high tides, wave after wave, and I know that this coastline is embedded in my very bones. Oh, it rejects modernity's weak, sullied flesh and sends its curious guests. It seems to know how the heart easily fractures and provides a robust refuge for those who are lost.
Good stuff, buddy. Good stuff. Let me ask you this. If a young person was to ask you, is poetry worth my time? Is poetry important? What would you say?
Yes, it's a really good way of expressing your feelings about the world, your subjective feelings. But the thing is, I get asked this probably in my teaching classes as a teacher because some of them just don't like poetry. So it's kind of saying, "Well, you got me. I can help you with the poetry, because it." But
Well,
it
one of
does
the things,
it does it's not very popular in England, which is ironic because I think we have the greatest poetry tradition in the world. We're not for painting, we don't, certainly not. It was
well,
with the English Renaissance and Shakespeare came, I think that's what
one
lifted
of the
it all
things that
off.
I respond to people who say that poetry is unimportant or a waste of time, I say, if poetry was not effective, would they chant poetic chants at football games?
Yeah,
Would
that's
the
a good point.
military chant murder chants and rape chants when they go to war? No. Would when they chant at a ball game for the hero to win for their side, that's poetry. Just like the songs. Well, today songs don't always have words you can understand. That's true. But most songs, and certainly most advertisement, is done in rhyme because rhyme sticks in the brain.
Yeah,
So that is my argument against poetry being frivolous.
I think I'll have to remember that when I'm teaching next. Yeah,
Be
I
my
need to
guest.
give them a good I need to give them a good reason.
Be my guest. Okay, what makes a good poet?
What makes a good poet? You think somebody that obviously we're talking about reading reads a lot and is very sensitive to what's going on around them. So it would take like a lot of psychological insights. Um, Somebody who can structure language in a clever way. Yeah,
All right, what kind of reading do you turn to for amusement, for
for
relaxation?
amusement. It's more films I watch for amusement. I like comedies. For amusement to read. Uh, probably like graphic comic novels. Yeah, there's some really good ones.
Okay. Is there
Not
any
very amusing though. Some of them are quite dark, aren't they? Just
Oh yeah.
sort of
Is there any reading on your desk right now?
just my poetry. And a book on 20th century, the 20th century art book, which I bought the other day. So I really studying the history of art over the holidays. I enjoyed that.
Okay, now
It's just finding people that have the same interest. It's very difficult.
two more
I mean,
questions.
you're gonna know about this soon. But have you heard of a rock group called Oasis? They're from Manchester. They
Oasis?
never, yeah, they never made it in America. They're desperate to make it big in America, and I hope they don't because I don't like them. But they're totally apathetic. They just basically the people identify them as working class, but they give the working class a really bad name, in my opinion. I mean, I teach some a boxing family, and they're proper Hartley Puddley and and they can't stand Oasis. So it's all a big. But they'd love to break America, but I don't think they will. And what they'll say is, "Oh, we don't really want to, but we don't want to be that big," or something like some excuse. But
Okay,
so
let
you
me
don't
ask.
want them over there.
It's my opinion that often real creative people tend to have unusual tastes. So I'm going to ask you, what
Yes,
popular author do you just think is worthless?
popular author. I'm not too keen on J.K. Rowling, to be honest.
I agree completely. I
Feels that you
agree.
can see what's coming next all the time, like a soap opera. Yeah, soap opera or something.
And my last question for you today. Wait, before we do it, I'm gonna have you read one more poem before we do the last question.
Yeah, that's
Do you have
great.
one more
Yeah.
poem you'd like to read?
Yes, this has got an elegiac quality about it. It's not to be taken literally, but it just came out. Nearing the End, it's called. As I approach autumn's vast, solemn shores in my frayed mortal sailboat, I see the wind scatter fallen leaves. I know that I haven't much time, and all the dreams that sustained me so far soon must die. To my visions, I tried hard to stay true, yet the world seemed to favour the designs of hollow men. If it wasn't for you, I would certainly packed it all in. You're still my precious muse through thick and thin.
Very nice.
Hope
And my
that's not going
question,
to happen.
sir.
Sorry, yeah. What's that? Sorry.
The last question is, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, who's your? You said the author. You did it. Which pop the author do you like? Really like? Or put
Uh,
authors? You could.
that's tough. I'm going to say that my absolute favorite author, uh, although just recently I had it. Uh, my favorite poet, bar none, is Blake, William Blake.
Yes, yeah, fantastic
Just,
poetry.
I can go to Blake anytime for inspiration, for insight. But another writer whose work I just put some very serious study in, Victor Hugo.
Yes, yes, Victor Hugo. Yeah.
I had I had this intuition that I needed to know more about Victor Hugo. And I contacted my local library. I said, I need a book on Victor Hugo. Can you get me a bio? And they said, sure. And what they gave me was a book of essays about Victor Hugo. Now, that's not a
Right.
biography, but it does
No.
tell you. And the more I read, and it was a very, very academic book. I mean, this was penance for somebody. But when I finished that, I said, I really want a biography. I want to please find me a biography. So they did find me one, and it was a 700-page biography. I mean, I learned about everything like his fiance's shoe size. I mean, the detail was immense. But what a complicated writer. My gosh. His mom was a royalist spy. His
Really?
dad
Yeah.
was a general for Napoleon. Now
Yeah.
that's a stretch. And he had at one point had a household with three mistresses, a wife, and children.
Gosh.
That's a busy fella, a very busy. But
You mentioned, yeah, you mentioned Blake. He had a whole system of thought, didn't he?
oh
What
yeah,
I find fascinating about Blake, and I like that. I use this quote to do. What is it? What does he say? I must create a system or be ruled by another man's system, something like that. My business is to create, not to reason and compare. I mean, just find his statements astonishing. There's some of the quotations
and his
very
artwork was
profound.
wonderful too. You
Yes,
know,
yeah. And
well,
during his lifetime, he was only popular among his friends. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it was only after he would have loved this, wouldn't he? This medium would have been great for him. Would it
absolutely.
be?
I met several artists, several poets who have very much graphic involved in their work. And this one young lady, she said, Rick, but won't, I would be afraid to show my poetry because it really needs the graphic to go with it. And I said, no, don't worry about that. She said, oh, yeah, but I mean, my graphics are nice, but the poetry, they all work together. And I said, listen, show it. And she's now a very well respected poet in the
Oh, good. Yeah.
international Zoom circuits. You may have run across her work, Alexandra Sarapoulou from Greece.
Oh, yes. I think she was on the program we were doing
Lovely.
with the Indian community.
Yeah, yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. But Dominic, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, my brother. I hope things go well for you. You have a wonderful
Thank you.
season, that your students appreciate the generosity of your heart.
I've really enjoyed being on the show again. We should meet up sooner rather than later.
One of these days, buddy, one of these days. I keep hoping that
But
I
you
can get.
take care anyway. Yeah, you take care.
Thanks, my friend. Be well. Good to talk
Thank
to you.
you.
Bye
See
bye.
you now. Bye bye. Bye bye.